Thank you, Senator O'Neill. Senator Lazarus.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. Australia's reputation across the world is being damaged. We are being viewed by the world as a country that locks up innocent and defenceless children, subjecting them to jail-like conditions without hope, compassion and any sense of a future. The sad truth is that we are a country that locks up defenceless children who have been washed up on our waters. Children have been dragged onto boats as innocent victims by their parents or others at the hands of unscrupulous people smugglers. Australia is locking up traumatised children who have lost their parents and have been forced to travel by sea in treacherous conditions on unsafe boats. In Australia, we are currently keeping some 30,000 asylum seekers in detention on the mainland and on Christmas Island, 468 of which are children, and of these children, 32 are unaccompanied children. So let's be very clear. Australia is currently keeping 32 children without parents in a detention centre on Christmas Island. Over the last 12 months, processing of asylum seekers has come to a grinding halt. Human beings have been left to languish in detention in jail-like conditions at the hands of the Australian government. Detention means that these people are either living in detention centres or living in Australia on bridging visas, unable to work and living in appalling conditions. I cannot be a part of this, Palmer United cannot be a part of this, and Australia cannot continue to be a part of this. And so, as a representative of the people of Queensland and more broadly Australia, as a father and an Australian with a genuine desire to ensure Australia flourishes as a nation, I have to do something. I cannot look forward to Christmas while young children are in detention on Christmas Island, suffering, lonely and without hope. We have to process the asylum seekers, the men, women and children who are being kept in detention as they desperately need to know what their future holds. We have got to get the 460 children out of detention, and we have to start doing the right thing. And so Palmer United has spoken to the government and put forward a solution. Our solution is not one of political point scoring. It is not one that ensures that Australia as a country meets our humanitarian obligations and treats people with respect, decency and offers authentic refugees real and genuine hope. I recognise that it is a difficult pill for the government to swallow, to take on board Palmer United's proposal to address the current asylum seeker crisis. I am grateful that the government has agreed to Palmer United's ideas to ease the asylum seeker crisis and, as a result, agreed to implement our solution through key amendments to this bill, which will significantly improve outcomes for asylum seekers and put Australia back on the right path. As a result, in response to Palmer United's demands, the government will put in place a fast-tracked processing system to process the existing group of asylum seekers awaiting decisions in relation to their future. Further, the government has agreed to ensure that the 1,500 asylum seekers who arrived into Australia illegally by boat between July 19 and December 31, 2013 will not be transferred to Nauru for processing. Instead, will be included in the group of asylum seekers to be processed through the fast-track system. This will ensure that the 460 children in detention on Christmas Island, including the 32 unaccompanied children in detention, will be removed from Christmas Island by Christmas this year. In addition, the government has agreed to increase Australia's refugee and humanitarian intake by 7,500 over the next budget and forward estimates periods. Importantly, the government has also agreed to introduce the concept of a Palmer United Safe Haven Enterprise Visa, commonly referred to now as a SHEV. As Australians, we all recognise the important social, economic and cultural significant benefits that immigrants have brought to our country. As a young boy growing up in Queanbeyan, I grew up and went to school at my local primary and high school with kids from local Italian, Croatian and Greek families. These families settled in Australia, showing incredible tenacity and entrepreneurial spirit by establishing small local businesses, building a life for themselves, providing immense benefit for their local communities and contributing to the overall cultural fabric of our great nation. These families worked hard and were tireless in their commitment to their communities and their family businesses. They worked long hours every day building their businesses. Some of these were builders, restaurateurs, painters and corner store owners. Without the arrival of people from other countries, we would not be the wonderful, multicultural and diverse nation that we are today, excelling in so many fields and in industries. This is why the Palm United Party developed the concept of the CHEV, because we value the benefits that people from other countries bring to our nation, and we would like to give genuine refugees the opportunity to build a life for themselves here in our great country, while also contributing to the continuing growth of Australia. Australia should open our arms to the genuine refugees and give them the opportunity to be part of our nation through real and genuine integration that builds on the strength of our great country while also supporting them to build a life of their very own, entwined with our laws, values, culture and social norms. I am pleased the government has agreed to the Palm United CHEV idea, which involves asylum seekers who have been deemed genuine refugees being offered the opportunity to apply for a Safe Haven Enterprise visa. The Palm United Safe Haven Enterprise visa, which is a 5-year visa, will provide the opportunity for genuine refugees and their families to be placed in rural and regional areas across Australia, where they will either work or study for a minimum of 3.5 years of that 5-year visa. Rural and regional Australia is on its knees. Farmers need employees to undertake farm-based duties such as picking, sorting, packing, along with various other businesses and administration duties. Tourist operators in my home state of Queensland desperately need staff and are having to rely on a transient workforce of backpackers to work in restaurants, resorts and hotels, particularly in rural and remote areas. The Palm United Safe Haven Enterprise visa will complement this industry sector with people who are available and willing to work. Australia's banana industry in Queensland is relying on backpackers to work on the banana plantations. Backpackers only work for up to 6 months at a time, as their primary objective is to travel and experience our great country. Rural and regional farmers need to retrain staff on a constant basis, and this is both stressful and inefficient for the farmers. While it is wonderful that our young people from all over the world are opting to experience our great country, we also need to recognise that the needs of rural and regional Australia need to be given priority. In speaking with farmers, there is no doubt they would prefer to have available a more reliable and long-term base of employees. Farmers would prefer to employ Aussie kids, but for one reason or another, many of the kids today want to move to the city, to the big smoke, to work and don't want to stay in their home country towns and rural centres. The Palm United CHEV will support Australia's rural and regional communities by introducing genuine refugees into these communities who are keen to build a new life for themselves and their families in our great country. Genuine refugees will be placed across areas where there is support and the infrastructure to facilitate their integration into Australia, and where there are jobs and opportunities for work, study and social integration. Upon completion of the 5-year Palm United CHEV and subject to meeting visa requirements, CHEV holders will be able to apply for a number of other onshore visas which could provide a pathway to permanent residency. These visas include a number of different opportunities, including study visas and work visas. The Palm United Safe Haven Enterprise visa provides a clear, genuine, honest pathway to permanent residency for authentic refugees who are prepared to work hard, contribute to the settlement and integration of themselves and their families into our great, generous and welcoming nation, build a future for themselves and contribute to the continuing growth of our wonderful country, just like many of our forefathers, uncles, aunties and other ancestors have done in the past and will continue to do into the future. It is also important to note that the Palm United Sheriff will also provide access to work rights and no restriction on study, access to employment services and mutual obligation arrangements, access to Medicare, access to income support, torture and trauma counselling, translating and interpreting services, complex case support, access to education for school-aged children. The Palm United Safe Haven Enterprise Visa will encourage enterprise through earning and learning, while also strengthening regional Australia. My dear friend and respected colleague Senator Wang is an example of how Australia can benefit from the wonderful talents and contributions of people from other countries. In 2003, Senator Wang arrived in Australia on a student visa to study urban planning and civil engineering at the University of Melbourne. Senator Wang was a diligent student and in 2006 applied and received permanent residency in Australia. In 2009, Senator Wang gained Australian citizenship, and in 2013 and again in 2014, Senator Wang was voted into the Australian Senate to represent his wonderful state of Western Australia. Senator Wang is a shining example of what can be achieved when Australia embraces people from other countries. In summary, I would like to quote a Japanese proverb: "The reputation of 1,000 years may be determined by the conduct of 1 hour." In this Senate, on this day, we have the opportunity to put right this disgraceful way our country has been treating asylum seekers who have suffered greatly at the hands of policy which has seen young children, unaccompanied young children, held in detention on Christmas Island. We have the chance to start to put right our reputation abroad, a reputation which has been tarnished by our treatment of desperate people purely seeking to escape from war-torn countries, famine, disease, evil extremists, torture, fascist regimes and heartless violence. We have the chance to work together to put in place legislation and mechanisms to give clarity to the future of asylum seekers, to provide real opportunities to a clear pathway for genuine refugees seeking to contribute to our country and their own futures as members of our great nation. And we have the chance to create history which will redetermine our country's approach to humankind. I cannot allow young children to be kept in detention. I cannot continue to be part of what is Australia's shame. I cannot allow our international reputation to be trashed any further. And importantly and most critically, I cannot stand idly by and allow my country, my thoroughly decent country, for which I am so very proud of, to continue to treat people in such a deplorable way. To stand idly by, knowing that wrongs are happening without intervening, is equal to being party to the wrongdoing. On behalf of the Palm United Party, I would like to thank the government for relenting to our demands to ensure that Australia meets its international obligations. Specifically, I would like to thank the government for agreeing to Palm United's demands to fast-track consideration of asylum seekers, implementing the Palm United Safe Haven Enterprise Visa, providing real and genuine pathway opportunities for refugees to build a life for themselves in Australia, while contributing to the ongoing growth of our great nation, removing children from detention and demonstrating that Australia is a nation of compassion, of humility, of generosity, and a nation which acknowledges, values and appreciates the benefits of migration. Palm United has worked hard to develop the idea of a Safe Haven Enterprise Visa, and it is pleasing to be here today to see our idea implemented. As the Palm United Sheriff will help to build our great nation while helping to rebuild people's lives. I recognise that the bill in its entirety is not perfect. I agree that there will be need to make improvements to the bill and these amendments over time. However, the key is ensuring that we get our country moving. We cannot keep people locked up any longer. We cannot keep children locked up any longer. We must do something. We cannot continue to argue about what we what we must do something, and something that moves our country in the right direction. While people argue, while political parties engage in posturing, while people attempt to point score, human beings, including children, are being locked up in detention. The Palm United solution gets people out of detention, gives people hope, gives people a genuine pathway for the future, and starts to turn around our badly damaged reputation internationally. This is only the beginning. Once we have ensured the current group of asylum seekers are assisted and the children are removed from detention, we will then start to look at Manus Island and Nauru. What I do need to let people of Australia know is that I am personally disgusted by the way our country has treated asylum seekers. What is really concerning is that Australia has been treating asylum seekers this way for years, and I think all of us in this place should shoulder some of the blame. It is unacceptable that Australia has allowed so many asylum seekers, men, women and children, to be kept in detention in such poor conditions. We cannot send people back to their own countries where they will face harm and persecution. We cannot simply dump them into our society without appropriate support and the opportunity to build a future for themselves so they can become taxpayers and fully participating members of our society. And we cannot lose sight of the fact that our own people need our focus and attention and support as well. We need to move forward, even if we move bit by bit, in the right direction, in the right way. I'd like to ensure the people of Australia that, along with my Palm United colleague Senator Dio Wang, we are committed to removing the children in detention from Christmas Island before Christmas. We all should want children in detention to experience the joys of being a kid and experiencing a traditional Aussie Christmas filled with laughter, love and the excitement of opening prezzies.
Thank you, Senator Lazarus.